Hey there, beautiful people. I'm Tracy Rigdon, and this is the Contrast Project Lounge podcast. In this episode, I sat down for a delightful, engaging conversation with local community advocate, activist, mom, my good friend, Miss Kris Kiernan. Are you guys ready for this? Well, let's do it. So, Kris, haven't seen you in quite a while, but you've been very active in the community in Northeast Florida there, and everybody knows your face. And how you been doing, Kris? You been holding up okay?
Yeah, as good as I can, right? Just navigating through our community. But yeah, I've been doing pretty well.
Amongst all the things that you've got going on in community advocacy and activism as well, one of the topics I wanted to touch on first in this conversation, as we discussed right before, was the your involvement in the Take 'em Down Jacks movement, Northside Coalition, and so forth, and those good people. Uh, Regularly going down to City Hall on Fridays and waving signs and making your voice heard. The removal of Confederate monuments, not only in Jacksonville but a lot of other cities are battling that nonsense too. Tell us a little bit about Take 'em Down Jacks, the movement, your reasons for being involved, and why it's so important.
Right. There's this is such a multifaceted issue.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
it's uh, it's something that we started talking about it in 2016. There was myself and six or seven different other community members sitting down at Memorial Park, actually in Riverside. Uh,
Yeah.
we sat together and we just were discussing how ridiculous it was that we still have Confederate monuments like littered across the city on publicly
Hmm.
maintained spaces. That's the part that I think irritates the majority of us, is that we have no right to say that we don't want to maintain these spaces. Um, but you're also telling us that we have to have them. I would say that the reason that we have been going and doing a Friday morning picket line at City Hall is not just to put our power out there and to show our power in numbers, but it's also to show that activism can be something that you can just fit into your schedule. It's I know that that may sound silly, but at the same time, we need to understand that activism is not a hobby; it is our life. This is something that we've
Right.
dedicated our life. We have dedicated our life to making the betterment for everyone. I mean, it's liberation for all. So the Friday morning at City Hall at 117 West Duval Street, at 11 a.m. on Friday mornings, 11 a.m. to 12:30, every morning. I mean, every Friday morning. We have signs that we've had created from donations throughout the community. I just want to be very clear. Take Them Down Jacks is an organization that is completely grassroots. Every dime that we get is from community activism and people throwing resources at us, essentially.
That's
So that's why
great.
I don't think people really understand the levity of the activism here. I mean, we have
Mhm.
dedicated our lives, we also put money into it. We show up when others just can't. But I think right now, because of the fact that City Hall is looking extremely racist, we're not going to be getting anything that we want in the future unless we put power out there, the power in
Yeah.
numbers. If we don't collectively come together and stand up against it, we're never going to have any type of movement in this city, especially because this city, Jacksonville, doesn't like to vote. It's something that, like, is like a faux pas. Like they're like, oh, we're upset that nothing happens, but we refuse to vote. You know, I was having a discussion with a friend of mine the other day. I'm trying to take this back, but I have to tell you this. They hadn't voted their whole life, and they decided to register to vote this cycle. And they're expressing to me how disheartened they are after the first time that they voted and they didn't get their way. I have been voting since I was 18 years old. I have been voting every election since I was 18 years old. Just imagine the disappointment. The thing that keeps me going is the fact that there are people like my daughter and like my son that cannot vote. And if I don't do my due diligence on voting, then I can't be upset if they don't turn around and do the same thing. Right? So we have to hold each other accountable. Right. And I think that's the best thing that we could actually do in Jacksonville is to remove these Confederate monuments, remove these racist symbols, move forward as a community, and gain the trust of the public officials again. We don't trust them. We just don't. They're not making the decisions that we would like them to make. They ask us for our votes, and then they turn their backs on us. And that's Marcus, who was it that, it was Terrence Freeman that decided to bail on 2 different meetings after saying publicly that he'd like to sit down with us. He bailed on 2 meetings. He said that he wasn't aware of the meeting. We called his secretary. The secretary said there was no meeting. Come to find out, there was a meeting because she left a message confirming the meeting. We found that after the fact. So she actually confirmed the meeting. Then we got there, said there was no meeting, then said she didn't have access to the city council president's calendar. So we have got trouble in paradise. We have got people that will not meet with their constituents. And this person got 100,000 votes. So Jacksonville right now is voting for racism. Yes. That is what the common denominator is. So that's why every Friday morning I get my ass up and I go. I take my children. I make it a point to bring the kids out there. I want to make people uncomfortable. I want to make these people that asked for our votes uncomfortable.
Right.
You know, like you're disappointing your constituents and you're disregarding us. But not only that, but you're trying to get away with it as if it's like, okay. You know? Yeah. So that's why we're out there on Fridays. We are out there now because he doesn't listen. We had a press conference. We've had multiple press conferences in the last 5 weeks, actually. And, you know, it's the common denominator is apathy. They are apathetic toward any changes right now. They don't want changes. And I'll tell you right now, this is just common knowledge. If we don't have Donna Dingett as a mayor, we're going to have some trouble. We are going to have Jim Crow 3.0, 4.0. I mean, like we already have an issue with a history of, you know, walking while black, you know. That was not too long ago. I don't forget about that. I remember going out there and holding press conference after press conference advocating for these young black men that were being stopped and asked for their ID for no reason.
Right.
This is not something that was like 15, 20 years ago. This was 3 and 4 years ago. We're going to go right back into that whirlwind with the Davis in office.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So, come out on Fridays. 11 a.m.
Yeah, and talking about the elections coming up and Donna Deegan and the city council for that matter, some seats have already actually been filled, but there is a runoff election coming up. I will be meeting on this program tomorrow evening with Stephen Darren. We're going to be doing some election analysis and predictions, and then again. And then again, closer to the election, Shelton and I will be doing the same. We'll start following the polls between, you know, now being early election day, early voting day, and going up to the election. And, you know, after the course of 7 or 10 days, you'll be able to see get some kind of idea. Like you said, with apathy,
Yep.
voter apathy in Duval County is freaking ridiculous. I mean, the supervisor of elections already just said on the newscast the other night that he's expecting maybe 37% turnout.
Oh, that's high. That's
I
high.
that's high for
I
that's
project
I
less than a
know.
30, that I project a 32% voter turnout. That's what I've projected. So
Yeah,
we'll
there
see. We'll
there
see.
we may hit 30 or so. I think that there's a lot of people, like you said, that are actually getting out there and they're determined to vote for Donna. So we might see
That's
some
good.
spikes in we might see some spikes in that. She's already ahead in the polls by a point or two, and been holding that lead for
Right.
some time now. Yeah, well, because people know her opponent, and negative ad campaigning, while in some circles will say that it works because it works on people's nerves, it doesn't work for the people that pay attention. It certainly does not. And I'm
It
glad
doesn't
that
work for educated voters.
no, it doesn't. No, it's the people that they read headlines but don't read the articles. You go right ahead. Now, going forward, as we were talking before, that we would segue into some of the the Florida politics, the shenanigans that are going on in Tallahassee, the oppressive bills and laws that are being enacted in the state of Florida, making a lot of people wish they lived somewhere else. Governor Ron DeSantis and his war on
Yeah.
women, his war on Disney, and in particular, one I wanted to talk to you about was his recent, along with Clay Yarborough, who basically sponsored the bill, to ban drag performances where in the way they worded it, where children would be present. And what sparked that, of course, was them seeing the images of the drag story hour, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Partly,
Yeah.
and we know that that's really going to have some an economic impact. Maybe not as much as the Disney economic impact, but the repercussions from such a ban is really going to take a toll on a lot of businesses, on a lot of people's livelihoods. Tell me about your involvement with the LGBTQ community, and in particular the drag community. And you have an upcoming gathering, an event that is going to be happening in Jacksonville's 5 Point area at Rain Dogs. Uh, Talk to us a little bit about your involvement in that.
Yeah. Well, the organization is called Unspoken Treasures.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's an Unspoken Treasure Society. It's an organization that is Black trans led. It's there's gosh, there's a ton of leadership that's involved in this. The organization originally started in Gainesville. She
Mm-hmm.
branched into Jacksonville because of the STI infections here.
Oh
We have
yes.
a really large percentage of HIV infections here, but the the problem truly lies in the fact that our trans community, our Black trans community, has the highest percentage of HIV
Mm.
infection.
Wow.
And what we're trying to do is debunk a lot of the negative attention coming to STIs, right? Especially HIV. It's these are things that if you end up having HIV, there are opportunities to become undetectable and not transfer it to your children. We have opportunities to save your life. You do not have to die. So the
Well,
issue truly
good.
lies in housing, though. The housing is the issue, and the when it comes to people's livelihoods, I'm coming down to talk about the trans women that this is truly going after. The drag performances and things like that, that is a distraction. And the issue
Mm-hmm.
truly is that a lot of cis white women with 2.5 kids and the perfect husband in the household, they don't know the difference between a drag performer
Right.
and a transgender individual. So they
Right.
don't
Right.
know that there's a difference. One is living their truth, and the other one is a performer. And
Right.
it is an art. It is an art. So, what
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to do with Unspoken Treasure Society is to branch the community together with the other activist pods in our community and
Mm-hmm.
also the interfaith community. So this next panel is going to be at Rain Dogs on May 10th. It'll be from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. There's going to be a panel, and the panel will include um, a um, a good amount of activism, a good
Good.
amount of interfaith discussion, a good amount of discussion about the STIs and destigmatizing these issues. Also, we need to talk about, and this is a big deal, the history of Stonewall, the history
Yes.
of Pride, and where it
Mm-hmm.
truly came from, and how it's morphed into what Pride looks like today, and how, honestly, and I'm going to be very blatantly honest, the patriarchy
Mm-hmm.
has a lot to do with this. The men take charge, and the women, for whatever reason, get left in the dark. And
Mm.
what this is honestly doing during this panel is uplifting women, uplifting
Mm-hmm.
Black trans women into our community and integrating them into the activist spaces that they probably would have never known. So these organizations that are in Jacksonville don't do much for the community, but Unspoken Treasures actually does for the community. She has a
Right.
computer lab. She has a full clothing area. She has a food
Mm-hmm.
pantry. There's SDI testing there. If you need somewhere to go to get out of the sun in the middle of downtown because that's where it's located, you can just walk in there. She doesn't refuse treatment or she doesn't refuse anything to anyone. So we need to know about these organizations that are actually housing people and helping people. She doesn't house people overnight at this location, but what she does
Mm-hmm.
is she acts as a logistics manager to find you housing. We don't
Okay.
have many places that actually focus on housing for the queer community. We have the
Okay.
Amber House, that is helpful and is actually a housing facility. But Jasmine doesn't even house people overnight.
Right.
They will
Right.
give them a shower and they'll give
Mm-hmm.
them an opportunity to clean their clothes. But other than that, there is no overnight housing. They will give them an opportunity to find something. But right now, right where we are, we need something that's going to be right now on the spot.
Right.
If you need a lift from some place that you're at because you feel like you're in danger, you should be able to have an organization that will help you out. And that's what Unspoken Treasures is all about. What we really truly need at this event on May 10th is we need the allies to come out and support because the
Mm-hmm.
queer community right now is hurting. We are getting attacked left and right.
Oh
My
yeah.
body is not even my choice anymore. And I associate all of this together because as a queer woman, I am offended. I am offended on so many different aspects of these laws being passed, but on top of everything else, I am offended by the lack of activism as a response.
Right.
Jacksonville, Florida has not done the due diligence that we need to collectively get behind the gay and queer community, especially the trans community, because
Right.
these laws are directly impacting their
Right.
livelihood and their lives. So, what I tried to do is bring drag shows and the trans community and bring them together so
Right.
that way we can talk about these things in safe spaces and not have to worry about the stigma of, oh, I shouldn't say this or maybe this is inappropriate. That's where we're trying to bridge that gap because a lot of people don't know things, and when you don't know, you can't do any better.
Right, right, and I'm actually I pulled up Unspoken Treasure Society here and looking at it. Their society is a nonprofit organization dedicated to fit the needs of the trans community, where every trans voice is heard, and that's noble. They're based out of Gainesville. I'll provide in this both in this podcast and on the blog. I'll provide links to them. Also, I was going to mention that there was a time several years ago when there was a local group, We Are Straight Allies, in Jacksonville, and it has since pretty much petered out. It's not active at all anymore. I remember when One Spark came to
Was
town. I
that during
actually
the HRO?
It was actually right around the year 2015 or so. It was back when I was actually running for city council, and Shavara Oren was the leader of that, and she was also helped quite a bit by Hope McMath. Of course, Hope's got her fingers in all of that. They had initially, when we had One Spark came to town, I helped out at there. They had an exhibit in the old Independent Life building, now the Wells Fargo building. But like I said, at the time, that was pretty much the only outspoken organization. We Are Straight Allies that reached out to the straight community for allyship. They had semi-regular meetings. Everybody that she even had, they had photo shoots with some of the local leaders. Even had a rabbi came in and posed for them and did that, and it was a worthy cause at the time, and it's a shame that it's no longer active. I've tried to reach out to them, the site. I haven't talked with Shavar. She's out doing her own thing all around the world right now, but it would be good to see something along those lines, spark back up. And I think what you're doing is good.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's move on. The next topic coming up, when I was talking about the shenanigans and all the shit going on in Tallahassee and Governor DeSantis, I won't even talk about the Disney crap. I have made it a point to ask a lot of people, women, their take on this 6-week abortion ban that will probably go into effect in June or July, I believe, because the 15-week limit is still being challenged before the courts. Mm-hmm. So after that challenge is over with, then the 6-week will take effect. What's your take on that? Now, I know what most people's take on it is, and I know what mine is. Let me hear from you.
Well, I do have a shirt that says "Bands off our bodies."
Bands off our bodies.
So
there you go.
That's essentially my take on that. So I would say that my biggest concern is for the well-being of my daughter. My daughter's 15. Mm-hmm. Historically and statistically, she is the person directly affected here. And she has no voting power. She has no voice in this city or in this state. It's a well-known fact that DeSantis and Curry are friends.
Yes.
And it's not uncommon to see DeSantis's children in San Marco. I've seen them. I've canvassed past them multiple times because San Marco was a honey hole and we really hit it hard. But we know that Curry and DeSantis are going to create a map together. They're playing things off each other like football plays, right? That's how they're working our cities. And this is just a continuation of the good old boy system, but we're seeing it now in more highly educated Ivy League people, right? The thing that's most terrifying about DeSantis is he's very educated. Trump was an idiot, right? We all knew that. We knew he was a moron. We knew he couldn't hold his own and that he relied on his daddy's name. And, a lot of things that he did, they got passed by his good old boy friends. DeSantis is hated by fewer people than Trump. And there was actually just a poll that went out that stated that Midwest and Southern women are not confident that DeSantis would be a good president. And that proves enough. If the people in Florida are disgusted by our own governor,
Right.
why would we continue to support this person and amplify him into a presidential position? Angie
Right.
Nixon says it best. She's like, we are kidding ourselves if we think that our governor is not running for president. We are
Hmm.
kidding ourselves if you don't think he is using this as a way to tokenize our state and turn it
Right.
into a state of chaos in order
Right.
for him to just cultivate more of a base. Um, the way that I feel about the attacks on women, the attacks on queer people, you know, they're all the same for me, because the way that I
Yes.
look at it is it's an attack on personal independence. It is attack on basic human rights, and
Yes.
it's a good old boy bully system. So the more people that we get out to Tallahassee, the more people that we get to stand in the way of any type of progress is going to be our best bet. I don't know if you know this or not, but Equality Florida has busted their ass the last like 8 weeks, and they have turned lobby days into what they call Pride at the Capitol.
Hmm.
I was working with them as a fellow this past like 8 weeks, 9 weeks. I went and I was involved in Tampa Pride. I went and I was helping confirm phone calls and, phone banking and getting people out to Tallahassee, one person at a time. And, we were able to get like 500 people up to Tallahassee for lobby days, and we turned it into a pride celebration. That
Hmm.
is the shit that is going to piss these people off enough to where they have to start to listen to us.
Right.
Like a
Right.
genius idea, a pride at the Capitol. That is genius, you know.
Absolutely.
But I was grateful to be a part of that with Equality Florida. The organization is pretty halfway decent. They've done a lot in the community for helping getting out the vote and things like that with their PAC. I think the biggest benefit here is that they create a network that creates an action, right? We do have a reaction base. We do have a space to be able to say, okay, we have this action and we have a list of emails, or we have a list of phone numbers, or we have a relational organizing so we can, share it out with all of our individual bases.
Hmm.
Equality Florida has created that network, and that's pretty special.
That's great. That's great. I happen to know I was in conversation earlier today with a person, a documentarian, who has very recently adjusted her career path to predominantly work with activist groups, with community advocates, to uh, journal and to document rallies and peaceful demonstrations and the like. And I will
That's
actually
necessary.
it is, and she does fantastic work. She was actually just down at the march in St. Augustine, that was headed up by
Awesome.
Commissioner Commissioner Trish Becker, who's a good friend of mine. They had a
Oh,
route.
Trish, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They had a rally down there, right at the basically out in the lawn in front of Castillo de San Marcos, the fort. And so a lot of people showed up, and then they marched through the streets, and there was a good turnout from what I could see. And this documentarian did a lot of video and a lot of still shots and everything, and so she's going to be doing a lot of that. And I will definitely pass along to her uh, the information that we get from you today, about the Unspoken Treasure Society, the meeting at Rain Dogs, as well as the Friday, I would say, peaceful demonstrations at the city hall, which they are, which they
Yes,
are.
they
I've been
are.
to several. I've been to several of the things that you've been involved with at down at the Duval County Public School System, and the like, and down at City Hall. So I know how it is. I know how it is. I think it's just the people that aren't involved in that, or the ones that bitch the most. They seem to forget about a lot of them are about my age or so, that scream the loudest, and they seem to forget that there was a time when they were hippies and there was peace, love, and you know rock and roll and peace, people, and planet. And there were demonstrations back then, people waving signs, and
Yeah.
people got
Yeah.
things
I mean,
done.
you have
And
to think
and
about
back
that.
then,
Like the
yeah,
labor
yeah,
movement,
exactly.
like people died for us to have 40-hour weeks.
That's
People
right.
literally died in
Yeah,
protest for us to have 40-hour weeks. We need
that's
to
right.
honor that. What are we Today's actually May Day. So, it's
It
like
is May
that on
Day.
top of that, like today is May Day. So awesome, working class. I
That's
hear
right.
you.
The
I'm with
working
you.
class.
So,
Yeah.
like, but it's
Without
like the
without the
things that
working class, we wouldn't have capitalism.
we would not be able to have capitalism. Like literally,
Uh,
it would not have manpower. You know,
that's right. That's right.
it's
That's
crazy.
right. So listen, going into the future, I know that you're going to be doing more of the same and staying involved. Again, like I said, I'm going to have. I'm definitely going to stay in touch and be as involved as I can from a distance, being out here in the middle of nowhere. But I definitely share your information. I share your ideals. And most of my friends, fans, and followers do too. So I mean, the ones that don't, they just block me anyway.
The way I look at it is this:
I
like, I
don't
don't want to
care.
have a yes group. I don't want to
No,
have a
no.
yes man group, but at the same time, like, I don't tolerate any type of fuckery anymore. Like,
No,
I can't tolerate people voting against women. Like, I just
no.
can't. So, if they hate me, then I'm pretty sure the feeling is mutual at that point, right? Like, I just, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Been a fantastic conversation with you, Kris. I'm going to let you get back
Awesome.
to.
Thanks so much.
I'm going to let you get back to your housework and your kids, your beautiful family you got there. And boy, that
I'm
that
playing outside right now.
that teenager of yours is growing like a weed,
She's taller than me. She
man.
started working in the community when she was 5, and she's now
I
15
know.
years old. She was just asked to speak at the walkout rally that was nationwide. We had over 350 different schools nationwide
Hmm.
walk out. And Grace was able, she goes by Grace May, or May, her middle name, but she was able to go and speak in front of, like, I think there was like at least 200 people there effortlessly. She acted as if it was no big deal. I'm like, you have no
She's
idea. Like, you have been doing, she doesn't know any other way. She doesn't have any
she's
other
used.
life. This is,
That's right. She's used to it. She's used to it. I remember seeing her speak at the Duval County Public School System there. That time
she
there was
was
that
like
big
this
rally. That
big.
I know. Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing.
So it's pretty
Well,
impressive. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, Kris, you've got the backing of the Contrast Project. You've got my personal backing. We'll stay with you, and we'll chat. I'll stay in touch with you, and we're gonna be
Okay.
seeing a lot more. Everybody's gonna see a lot more of this lady right here.
I'll
That's
see you
right.
around.
That's
I'm
right.
sure. I'm sure
All
I'll see
right.
you.
Peace, Kris.
Bye.
I'd like to thank all my friends, fans, and followers over on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Please don't forget to like, share, and comment. And on our YouTube channel, like, share, comment, and smash the subscribe button. Don't forget to ring that bell so you get notifications whenever we have a new episode come up. And don't forget that the podcast itself, the audio version, can be streamed on all major streaming platforms. And you can find my crazy shenanigans over on TikTok. My closing thoughts about this conversation I just had with Kris. I tell you, I've known her for several years, and she has always been very passionate about the community at large. Not just her community and not just her little circle, but let me tell you, and her circle's kind of broad. She has been passionate and well known, well respected within the advocates groups. Uh, every time a social injustice raises its ugly head in Northeast Florida, you can count on Kris to be there for inclusion, for some of the maddening injustices that we see oppressive legislation, take them down jacks, the Confederate monuments. She is always there, and I respect that. I respect all the people that go out there and do what they do in the name of justice, equality, and inclusion. What we have to do in the long run, in the words of Hillary Clinton had once said, is to find a way to celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our communities. Says it all. In the meantime, my friends, stay vigilant. Be careful out there. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves and each other. Until the next time, peace.